All right, today class, we're gonna start with our discussion of Romeo and Juliet and the introduction information that you guys need to get down in your notes before we start reading. First, we're just gonna watch a little short clip from the recently released film, Romeo and Juliet. In this scene, Romeo is talking to a statue of Shakespeare, and Shakespeare's describing his real play of Romeo and Juliet.
Extraordinary. Your story, it does put me in mind of another.
It does?
Oh, indeed, yes, there are remarkable similarities.
What happens? Did they get back together then?
Get back together? No, not exactly.
What exactly do you mean?
Well, now, it really is quite good. She feigns her death. He finds her, thinks her dead, takes his own life. She wakes, finds him dead, takes her life, both dead. Exeunt omnes, the end, curtain! Standing ovation! Bravo! Bravo! Author!
What did you say? They both die? What kind of an ending is that?
My dear boy, this is a tragedy.
Yeah, you're telling me, mate, it's rubbish.
Rubbish.
There's gotta be a better ending than that.
Well, I suppose that he could have made it back in time to avert disaster, but I like the whole death part better. Oh dear.
Okay, so that's kind of a funny spin on Shakespeare, the statue, and Romeo and Juliet's telling of his play Romeo and Juliet. All right. Oh, the little hearts popped up. Okay, the Globe Theater. We're going to talk about some main parts of the Globe Theater where Shakespeare produced most of his plays, including Romeo and Juliet. So we're going to label some of the parts, and I want you to get this down in your notes because there will be some questions about this on the final. First, we're going to talk about the yard or the pit. Pit. This is where the groundlings would stand. It was standing room only, there was no seating. People would pay a penny to watch the plays here. And most of the time, this would be the lower class individuals of London at the time. The next thing is you're gonna have your stage. This is where the play would be acted out. They would incorporate the whole stage as well as the backdrops around here for people off stage that just had speaking parts. Up here, you're going to have your galleries. All right, and the galleries are where the prominent members of society would sit. Usually, Queen Elizabeth, if she came to watch a production, would have a seat directly across from here on the other side. This was almost a 360-degree arena that you could use to view the play. And there were 3 levels of galleries for the prominent members of society. The last part we're going to label is going to be the heavens, right here. And the heavens were going to be used for actors to be hidden that did not want to be seen, but maybe had speaking parts. It was also used for special effects during plays. If the play called for a god to drop from the heavens, they would use this as a pulley lever system and drop an actor down to resemble that they were falling from the heavens. This link down here is going to be a cool tool that you can use whenever you're at home or you want to look at it by yourself. It's going to be a 3-dimensional tour of the rebuilt Globe Theater in London right now. You can use this at home. This is what the Globe Theater now looks like in London. You can drag it and look at a 360-degree viewing. You can zoom in on certain areas if you want to zoom in on the galleries and look. This is just a useful tool for you to get more familiar with the Globe Theater. All right, let's move to the next slide. Okay, we're gonna go over a concept check really quick. We're gonna go through and match the concepts with their definition and then highlight some key terms. So let's use our highlighter. Let's go over the first one. Character provides a striking contrast to another character which calls attention to certain traits possessed by the main character. The thing we need to make sure we pay attention to here is contrast. So one character who contrasts another character and calls attention to certain traits. So this character is going to be a foil. So we want to draw a line from here to here. A foil, one character to another. Romeo and Mercutio would be foils, and we'll talk about that later as we move into talking about the play. Next, A dramatic work that represents the downfall of a dignified character or characters who are involved in historically or socially significant events. Here we need to make sure we pay attention to downfall of a dignified character who was involved in historically or socially significant events. This is going to be a tragedy. So we want to mark this here to here. Next is going to be central character, usually fails or dies because of a character flaw. Here we need to pay attention to fails or dies, character flaw. In this case, this is going to be Romeo. So, a protagonist is going to be our central character. Last but not least, we're going to have forces working against the protagonist. So forces working against. And this is going to be your antagonist. In this play, this is going to be Tybalt. So make sure we get all of this in our notes because these will be on the final exam. All right, last thing we're going to go over is the characters. This is an important part because they are divided into two sides and you don't want to get those mixed up whenever you're answering questions on the final or trying to keep the play straight. So first thing we're going to go over are the Capulets. And we've already got Juliet, Lady Capulet, and Lord Capulet up there. Next, we're just going to add Tybalt, who's Juliet's cousin. And we've already said the antagonist, so make sure you write down Tybalt as Juliet's cousin, and he's also the antagonist to Romeo as the protagonist. Next is going to be the nurse. She plays a vital role in Romeo and Juliet's scheme to get married and be together. And let's move over to the Montagues. We've got Benvolio, who's the voice of reason. He's the one that is constantly trying to tell the Capulets and the Montagues to stop fighting and feuding. We're going to have Mercutio, who is Romeo's foil. Make sure you write that down. I think I spelled that wrong. Not Mercutio, Mercutio. Okay, so Mercutio's Romeo's foil. He ultimately is killed by Tybalt, which results in the climax of the play. And we'll get to that as we finish reading. The last thing is going to be the others, and these are important. These are not on either side. The first one is going to be Friar Lawrence, who is the main character in Romeo and Juliet's scheme that results in their deaths. Last but not least is going to be Paris, who at the beginning of the play is interested in marrying Juliet, and he also becomes kind of an antagonist for Romeo. So make sure you get all of that in your notes. Let's go ahead and take out our books, and we're going to begin reading Act 1, Scene 1.